So, we got notes and intro, so let's start with the project. So this project will take us a few minutes to discuss, and then we'll go right into the notes. So the project is called the Egg Drop, and you need to make sure that you follow the instructions. In this, there's several things we'll go over here. So first thing you should notice is you can have 2 people do this. So if you do it by yourself, obviously just put your own name there. If you have multiple people, then you put both your names. It says block class. Again, you're going to put, for you guys, V4. But you have to, your partner still has to be in this class. So don't think you're just using somebody else. It's just a lot simpler if we do it that way. Most of you guys that are here will obviously be dropping when we're here. Unlike the last project, this one's not optional. The last one was optional mostly because you couldn't do it at home. This one you totally can. So for those of you that are virtual, I'll kind of hint at the differences that'll happen for y'all, but it'll be essentially the same process. So your goal is to construct a container of original design with minimum mass so that it will protect a raw egg, large size, from breaking or cracking when dropped from a fixed height. That's the whole goal. Now we have a bunch of rules. So let's just go into that. I'll try not to get ahead of myself. So rule number 1, each person or team will be permitted 1 entry. A team can have up to 2 members. So this is similar to the rocket project in the fact that you can only make 1 device, and it's only going to be tested once. Because, well, if it works, then it works. If it doesn't work, generally that involves a lot of things getting broken. And again, it's not really good to retest this. So you only get to drop it once. Building materials. So the building materials you're allowed to use are 8.5 inch by 11 inch Xerox paper. So that's just your normal plain white printer paper. Tape and string. That's it. So you get paper, tape, and string in order to do the Egg Drop project. Anything else is considered an illegal material and is not allowed. There's a lot of things that are not allowed, and basically, if you do these things, then what's going to happen is you're going to lose points. Okay? I want to emphasize this right now because I'm not going to say it later. If you don't follow the rules, then expect points to be deducted. And whenever we make projects, I have students that don't follow the rules. And sometimes it's just a little minor violation that might result in a few points off, and sometimes it's a major violation. And likewise, when you have a minor or major violation, sometimes students notice it. Obviously, if it's a minor violation, most students probably wouldn't notice it, but when it's a major violation, most students do notice it. And the problem is, so I'll give you a concrete example. One year I had a student bring in a project that was ludicrously big. If you'll notice there, number 4, it says the container may not exceed 75 grams in mass, not including the egg. Okay. So 75 grams, is that a whole lot of mass? No, it's really not. The student brought in the project that was made of just paper, tape, and string, but it was about half the size of one of these desks. As a result, it was really obvious to everyone that this person had exceeded the mass limit. Here's the deal. Let's assume that happened in this class. Let's assume that you guys come, you're all excited to drop it, and you all got your projects, and then you have somebody come in with something that's very obviously outside the rules. What typically happens is, everybody talks to that student about it, they're like, oh, blah, 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 and then they'll come ask me, and they'll be like, well, can he do that? Can he drop that? Is that legal? And here's the deal. First of all, I'll tell you right now, that's not legal. If a student did that, what I would do is I would have the student drop it, and I would, take points off for going against the rules. In that particular case, he lost all of the points for constructing it, which in this case is 40. But here's the deal. I can talk to you about this particular student because you have no idea who I'm talking about. Okay? If a student came in, actually did that in this class, what students want me to say is that, oh, they're going to lose points, or he's going to lose 40 points, or whatever. I am not going to say that. Okay? If somebody violates the rules or whatever, that they use a material that's not allowed, or too much mass or something, I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to say, oh, that's interesting. Because if I say something about it, if I say that's against the rules, or you're going to lose 10 points for that, or you're going to lose 40 points for that, now what I've done is I've told people this student's grade. Like if you lose 40 points, can you pass at this point? No. So if I said, okay, you lose 40 points for that, now I've told everyone that you failed. See? The problem with that is that's actually a federal law that I can't discuss one student's grades with another student's grades, with another student. I can only discuss students. I can only discuss, for instance, your grades with you and your legal guardians and people that have a right to know. So like, I can discuss it with like other teachers and administrators, but I can't discuss your grades with your friends' parents. Okay? I can't discuss your grades with another student. Which is interesting if you didn't know that that was the law, because some teachers definitely violate that law. But I'm not them. So as a result, what I'm trying to tell you guys up front is that if somebody does something wrong, I'm not going to call them out in front of the whole class. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, it will be written on their rubric, on their grade, that you guys get on Canvas. It will be in there, but I'm not going to say it in front of everybody, because to me that's a violation of the law. So just be aware that, because I know a lot of students get frustrated because they see something like that, and the reason why other students get frustrated is because they spend a lot of time making it work under the rules, and then you clearly see, Billy over there didn't. Well, I just want to assure you guys right now that, if you break the rules, points are taken off, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to address it in class. Does that make sense? Because I don't want you guys getting frustrated thinking that like, oh, that kid got 100. Because what's funny is in this case, the kid told everyone that he passed. Which wasn't true, but I'm not going to call him out and be like, no, you failed. Because again, that would be discussing the grades. So I just want to address that up front. This is true for pretty much anything, that I'm not going to discuss, grades with other people. I can discuss, general things like averages. It's a pretty good average there, which y'all got for this last test. It's a test average. But I can't really go beyond that in terms of statistics. I can go talk to you about your own statistics, but I can't get much more detail than just class level. So I just wanted to address that before we get any further, because it's like this project and the next one, they usually end up with students way outside the rules, and in general, things don't end well when you go outside the rules. Because I want to emphasize, most of these rules are not here to make your life hard. They're here to actually help you succeed. Like for the math, since we're on step 2 here, the materials, the paper, tape, and string, that's definitely to make your life hard. But number 4, not exceeding 75 grams, that's actually to make your life easier, because one of the things that we found is that students that make heavy projects, almost none of those eggs survive. And so we try to make sure that you guys, because what ends up happening is as students build, they're like, oh, let's put this on, let's put this on, let's put this on. And what ends up happening is you end up putting too much weight, and your egg just can't take it. So, that's number 2, paper, tape, and string. Just regular printer paper. Tape, we recommend, just like regular, like Scotch tape. Don't use duct tape or shipping tape. It's a weight issue, as we've mentioned before. Duct tape, sure, it holds well, but let's be honest here, you're trying to tape 2 pieces of paper together. Duct tape's a little overkill for that. And duct tape definitely weighs more than just like the regular Scotch tape. So, as a result, the more tape you use, the less paper you're able to use. And paper is really what you're building with. Like, it's just a connecting thing. And then string seems weird. Like, the whole point is you guys use paper and then tape it together. What's the string for? Yeah, parachute. Now, I will emphasize this. Parachutes can be very helpful, but only if you do them correctly. I have 100% seen people use their little device. They put their little egg in it, they hold it over the edge of the railing, and they let it go. It immediately turns upside down. Their egg falls out, splats down on the floor, and then the rest of the project comes floating down later. First of all, seatbelts are useful. Second of all, if you use something with a parachute, I highly recommend you test it. I don't necessarily recommend that you test with an egg, but if you had built that and just put like a rock in it and dropped it, you'd notice like, oh, that thing fell upside down immediately. You might think, oh, maybe I need to change this. Because you may not be able to tell, having a rock in there if it broke or not. But granted, if your rock breaks, you got a real problem. But just testing it out, just putting a little weight there to see what happens is always good. But parachutes are a little bit trickier than most people think. I'm not trying to discourage parachutes at all, but what I'm saying is definitely try it before you try it with the egg. Does that make sense? Because I've seen that happen. I've also seen it happen where they drop it and it actually just starts spinning. And then when it gets to the ground, it's not going very fast, but it's going in a circle, and so it ends up slamming the egg into the ground, which will definitely break it. So parachutes, very useful, but make sure you test them. Okay? I've definitely seen eggs with parachutes break, and I've definitely seen eggs without parachutes not break. So you don't need a parachute. Okay, that's the first key. But that's the whole point of the string, is if you have a parachute, it's kind of weird to run paper up there. Number 3, it says tape or string may not be used to strengthen the egg itself. It may not touch. The only thing that can touch your egg is really just the paper. So, yeah. Number 5, it says a container can be of any design, but should not exceed 1 square meter. Again, if you can't fit it through the door, you're going to have real problems. And number 6, each team will construct the container outside of class. Okay? You will be given a short time to adjust your design in class, after which the container will be maxed. So essentially, if you're working by yourself, it's pretty easy. If you're working with somebody else, you're going to have to get together, or maybe just one of you builds it, however you all want to divvy up the work. But you're going to have to build it and then bring it in the day we drop. Does that make sense? The day we drop, will probably give you like maybe 5 minutes in class to put stuff together, make any last minute adjustments. I know it seems like every class I have a student that comes to class crying because their little brother sat on it on the way to school. Like, I don't know what to tell you at that point. But some things can definitely be fixed. Number 7, raw eggs, large size, will be provided to the contestants at the time of competition, but not until the device has been constructed and maxed. At no time should the egg be removed from the sandwich bag. So this is what's going to happen when you guys show up on drop day. I'm going to say, that's cool. Make any last minute adjustments. You got 5 minutes. While y'all are doing that, I'm going to be sitting up there with a bunch of eggs. And if they're not in bags, I'll be putting them in little sandwich bags. They're going to stay in those sandwich bags. Because the whole goal is to make sure the egg doesn't break. Okay? If it doesn't break, we're all good. If it does break, well then, you ever broken egg before? Yeah, they tend to be kind of messy. And if you leave, raw egg just sitting there for a while, it rots very fast. So we don't want to have to deal with cleaning all this up. And so we're going to keep them in the Ziploc bags. Now, even keeping them in the Ziploc bag, sometimes it still makes a mess outside the bag. It's not 100%. But it's a lot better if we keep them in the bag. So I'm going to put them in bags. When you guys get done, that means you'll come up and you'll find the mass of your project, okay? When you're ready to go, I'll say, okay, you ready? Sure. I will hand you an egg in a bag. You'll just take that egg, pretend like the bag's not there, and just stick it in your project, right? Buckle the seatbelt, whatever you got for it. But here's the deal. When I give you that egg, it is your responsibility. Okay? How many eggs am I going to give you? One. Are we dropping them in here? We have not gotten there. The next one says the container with the egg inside will be dropped out by the rotunda in front of the Wildcat. So are we dropping them in here? No, I'm going to give you the egg, and we're going to have to travel all the way down the hall, drop them. So when we drop them, we're going to check to see if the egg survived, intact, not cracked. Okay, the egg will be examined carefully for cracks. A crack, no matter how small, counts as a break. All right? And then I'll talk about that in a second. So we're going to give you the egg. You're going to go down there, drop it. I'm going to check it, or another teacher's going to check it right then. But then I'm probably going to hand the egg back to you, so till we get everybody to drop it. Then we're going to come back in here. I will check the egg down there, but I'm also going to check it in here. It actually doesn't matter what happens down there. The only thing that matters is the egg that I check in here. Okay? If your egg survives down there, it has to also survive the trip back down the hall. I say this because I have a lot of students who don't behave appropriately in the hall, and for some reason, especially boys, like to play with the egg like it's a tennis ball. It's not. And every year I have several students that drop their egg in the hallway. That's still going to count as a break. Okay, if you can't be responsible enough to hold an egg while you're walking down the hall, sorry, you lose 5 points.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. So I just want to point that out that, yeah, I'm going to check the eggs down there, but I'm going to check them here when we get back in here. I found that since I started doing that, first of all, a lot less eggs get broken in the hallway, and second of all, I have a lot less students throwing stuff. So, again, I'll check them down there, but in here is the one for points. Everybody got that? So, I do want to re-go over number 10. It says, I'm going to check them very carefully for cracks. A crack, no matter how small, counts as a break. The whole point of this project is to build a device that can absorb this momentum, this change in momentum that your egg is going to have to encounter. So, instead of thinking of it like an egg, and this is a silly project, think of it more like your car and the egg is a person. If you were designing a car that was going to have to be in a collision with, say, you or a person inside of it, you would want it to be safe. That's kind of what we're getting at here. And as a result, if the egg was a person, having a small crack in a person is not a good thing. Because every year I got a student that's just like, oh, just a little teeny tiny crack, it's fine. I'm like, if this was your skull, and the doctor was like, ah, it's a teeny tiny crack in your skull, it's fine. No doctor would say that, because a teeny tiny crack in your skull is not fine. Okay? So, a crack, no matter how small, counts as a break. Okay? Is everybody clear on that one? Again, I don't want y'all arguing, oh, it's not really broken. Like, no, it's broken. Okay? Maybe there's not brain leaking out, but it's broken. Okay? And then number 11, it says, when doing the project virtually, students must provide their own egg and drop point. So, obviously, I'm not going to be doing that. So, if you're doing this virtually, obviously, you have to get your own egg. Second of all, you have to figure out your drop point. But the drop height should be at least 5 meters. So, in here, the drop height is going to be about 5.8 meters. So, if you're at home, you just need to drop it from someplace kind of high. So, you can drop it off your roof. If you have 2 stories, you can drop it off the 2nd story. You can go to the park and just drop it off some playground equipment. Heck, y'all can use like Old Alton Bridge and drop it off that. I don't care. Just find some place. You're going to have to measure the height, and if you don't have anything to measure the height, then you'll have to measure it, well, how we did in here. We had a lab at the beginning of the year where we dropped stuff, and we measured how long it took to fall, and then knowing the time of fall, you can calculate the distance that it fell. So, but yes, if you're at home, you got to provide your own egg and drop one. So competition. So again, you build the device outside of class. Be a limited amount of time to make adjustments, about 5 minutes. The containerized egg will be masked and a picture will be taken, then the egg loaded. Each team will directly load its container with a raw egg, supplied by the teacher. Number 4, the time of fall will be measured to the nearest hundredth of a second. So when you drop it, you need to have somebody timing it, but we'll get to that in a second. Then the teacher will open the package and present the unbroken egg within 2 minutes, and all these steps must be shown on the video that is going to be included with the submitted assignment. So if you're working by yourself, you're going to have to find somebody to help you record. If you're working with a partner, obviously one should be dropping, one should be recording. You should be able to get your time of fall from your video recording. Now the recordings will look slightly different if you're at home or if you're here. If you're here, we're going to walk down there and your recording is essentially just going to be the drop, and then we'll open it up and we'll show on the video it's not broken. If you're at home, I want a little bit more detail. So this also goes for any of you who might be at home at that time. If you're at home, you need to record, well, before you put the egg in, just start recording. So, okay, here's the egg, here's the project. Put it in there, show me you putting it in there, closed up, then go drop it, show the fall, and then show, the results. You pull it out, it's broken, it's not broken. So your video at home is a little bit longer than the one here. Because here I'm going to watch you guys load. Obviously at home you're going to have to videotape that for me. But yeah, just put it all in one video. And for the video you can record and then upload to Canvas, or you can put it in Google Drive or put it on I don't care where you put the video. Just make sure that I can view it. For instance, if you put it in your Google Drive, your school drive, that's fine. Just make sure I have permission to view the video. That makes sense? And then you can just link it to this document here. Grading rubric. 40 points for making a legal container. So again, one of the reasons why that's so many points is so that I have some room to deduct points but not kill you on making a legal container. Like I said, if it's just a little minor rule violation, then expect a few points to come off of this. But, as long as, it's not a huge thing, it's not going to be that many points. The egg does not break, you get 10 points. If the egg does break, you get 0 points. Calculations diagram data is 35 points. So it's 35 points for essentially this page, filling out this table here and the calculations you have to do. And then the analysis and survey is 15 points, right? So here, you can see some of the stuff you have to fill out, all these different things here. Some of these you know how to do, some you don't, so we haven't got there. Picture, image of calculations. And you should put the video in here as well. So then there's just a couple of analysis questions. Number 2 is pretty easy if eggs have all the same impulse. Once you guys know what impulse is, that's a pretty easy question. But number 1, I have a lot of students that get confused on. It says, describe how your structure caused the change of momentum of the falling egg. Be specific and use these terms. A lot of times I just get absolute garbage here. I'll get phrases that are like, my device had momentum because of the force that was applied. What? Had momentum, what? And then I use the impulse to stop the velocity. Like, that doesn't... This first analysis question is just basically asking you guys why you built what you built. If you put a parachute on it, why? If it's shaped like a cone, why? If it's shaped like a cylinder, why? You built something. The question is, why did you make these decisions? Why did you add these things to your project? That is this whole thing here. But I want you to describe why by using these different words. Okay? And then down here at the bottom is just the, we have a little survey thing here for groups of partners. Obviously, if you're doing it by yourself, there's not much to fill out there. For me, I just want you to list, who did what. One of the things I get is students will be like, oh, well, I need to write my name down on all of these boxes. No. All these boxes need to be filled out. They don't all have to be your name. If you're by yourself, obviously, it's all you. But if you have a partner, I don't care who does what. That's between you and your partner. The whole point of this sheet is that whatever you guys agree to do, write it down. I don't care who does what. And I'm not going to be like, oh, well, Billy has 6 boxes, but Susie only has 2 boxes. I don't care. If that's what y'all wanted to do, that has no effect on me. Okay? But this is just filled out for, obviously you do it afterwards. Do y'all have any questions right now about this project?